Hello and welcome back to House of Crime. Today's story is going to take us back to New Orleans in a neighborhood known as Florida. It's located in the 9th Ward, which is the largest of 17 wards or regions in the New Orleans area. It's an area that became famous after Hurricane Katrina hit the region in 2005, and that particular area was severely flooded and damaged. It's starting to come back now with people starting to relocate and starting to move in, but it's still rated as the 4th most dangerous area of the city. Now, it's no secret that New Orleans itself is not a safe place, but the crime rates had been declining since the 90s in this particular area. However, year over year now it's starting to increase again, and still, reportedly, it has the worst crime stats than almost any other city in the United States. Today's story is about Julia Dardar, a 34-year-old mother of 2 who originally was from Texas but was living in New Orleans with her husband and 2 daughters. Just like many other American families, the Dardar family was hit hard by the pandemic and all of the pressures of quarantine and everything else that came along with having to deal with that. Julia's estranged husband reported that the pressures from the pandemic and quarantine and everything else had kind of led Julia down a dark path, and she had already had mental health issues, and then combined with now drug addiction, it was too much for them to bear. Julia's drug addiction had caused pressure on the family and ended up causing a separation between her and her husband. Apparently, her husband and her were still kind of in touch because he knew something about her whereabouts, and she was very proud of her 2 daughters, and so he knew, kind of where she was, maybe what was going on, but maybe not all the details of what was going on in her life. Judging from her Facebook posts, though, they weren't exactly friends. After separating from her husband, Julia moved in with a local artist in New Orleans known as Kelly Kirkpatrick. His real name was Benjamin Beal. Now, New Orleans is known for its food culture, the music, the arts, just lots of fun things, and Kelly was also, or Benjamin I guess, was one of those performers in New Orleans. It's unclear how they met or how or why she was actually living with him at the time, but according to Benjamin, she was his girlfriend. Her estranged husband then contacted police and let them know that she was struggling with drug addiction and with mental health issues, and he told police that she had recently moved in with Beal. He also mentioned that Beal had been seen driving Julia's car without her in it, and friends had reported that that was a little bit strange and off character. Police were able to obtain a search warrant and went to Beal's house to question him about the disappearance. Beal told police that he hadn't seen Julia since middle of December, and that he believed that she was suicidal because she had left his place without taking anything with her. Which is odd, because if your girlfriend that you live with just leaves, then you don't hear back from her, and you're thinking she's suicidal, wouldn't you contact somebody? Then again on January 5th, Beal met with police again and told them a different date that he had said that he had last seen Julia. He suggested that she killed herself or maybe OD'd in a place known as the End of the World, which is basically a park, I guess, that's created by residents in New Orleans where they go to hang out, and it's well known by street drug users. So police finally, decide to go search his place. They go inside, and his place is a mess. There's a lot of different things. They find drug paraphernalia and different things in his kitchen, suggesting that he has a meth lab. And then they notice that there's some extension cords that are running from his house outside to his backyard and into this creepy looking bus that is parked outside his house and padlocked. So they go to the bus, they open it up, they go inside, and they find a freezer. Inside that freezer, they found the headless torso of what appeared to be a woman. And in that freezer were also bags containing her body parts that had been chopped off, including her hands and her head, and they were wrapped up in plastic bags and frozen inside this freezer. And next to the freezer was a cooler, like a drink cooler, that had a saw inside of it with what appeared to have bits of flesh and bodily fluid. They also found nearby goggles, garbage bags, and a plastic face shield. Now, Beal refused to answer any of the investigators' questions, and so he was kind of useless when all of this came. But investigators were able to trace the items that were found in his little cribby busmobile back to a local hardware store where on CCTV he was seen purchasing these items. Not only that, those items were purchased only a few days before she was found to be missing. There was an anonymous tip that was called into the police by a woman stating that she had supposedly been threatened by Beale in 2021. He had threatened to chop her up, and she stated that he was violent when he was on drugs. She said that she was briefly married to Beale, but by the end of the same month that she had married him, she had moved out. At some point, Beale had demanded her to come to his place and clean up his home, and when she refused, he showed up at her house with a 5-foot-long tree branch and was banging on her back door. They argued a bit through the door, and then Beale threatened to cut her up using his Dexter table. Now, one quick look through his Facebook and you can tell that this guy was a character. What's creepy is that he had several pictures of himself with references to Dexter. So, for those of you who don't know, Dexter is a crime drama where the main character kills and chops up his victims, then puts them inside of garbage bags and dumps them off of his boat. So, not a boat, but pretty similar. He also posted pictures of himself skinning and cutting up alligators and posing with guns. And get this, his defense attorney has tried to argue that there's not enough evidence for probable cause to justify the charges against Beale. But I don't know about you. CCTV, a headless body, the tools with maybe some flesh from that headless body seems pretty probable to me. The autopsy on the body was delayed because they had to wait for the body parts to thaw before they could actually analyze any of it. It was found that Julia was killed by blunt force trauma and asphyxiation due to manual strangulation. There were also cuts that were found on the body that were determined to be made post-mortem, meaning after she had died. And there isn't much more information regarding that. But as I said, this is a developing case, and as details come in, I will definitely post again and update you guys on what happens next. Beale's preliminary hearing was in January, and the next court date was supposed to be on March 16th, but I wasn't able to find any recent updates on that. So as soon as I find out more about what's going on and more information on this case, I will definitely post. Thank you so much for watching. Your support really means a lot to me. Please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell to get all notifications. Until next time, stay safe.